Hello and welcome back to the Meet the Eatmons Endangered Species Podcast, where we uplift, inspire, and spotlight those that are doing something to stand out in the world today. We are your hosts, Curtis and Spring Eatman, and we are really excited for you to be here today. So what
Yes.
are we talking about today?
Today's topic is going to talk about the role of women in building actually a kingdom.
Very
Okay.
important.
So it always says, we're looking at right here. It says the role of women in building kings and kingdoms, how strong women can actually contribute to strong men.
Very
So
good.
it's going to be kind of interesting. Because you hear it all the time that behind every great man, there's a strong woman, but we're going to kind of figure out, got to go more deeper into that if that's really true, right? So we're going to say, can a king actually build a kingdom without a queen? Or does he really need the queen to make sure that kingdom is actually going to elevate to the right place? So let's get right into it. You ready? All right, cool. First question. Can a man truly become a king without the right woman by his side?
Can they? Yes. Can a man truly become a king? Yes. I don't think a man's worth or a woman's worth has to be intertwined within someone else, right? I think you
Okay.
have your value within yourself. But can the kingdom be a lot more effective with the right partner? Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that most couples, they have kind of a yin and a yang to them.
Okay.
Most relationships, like one person has certain qualities that are stand out for them, and the other person probably has completely opposite qualities. And most couples work that way because you're supposed to be able to be helpmates to each other, right? That's the whole point and the whole purpose.
Right.
And I think having the right woman by your side will help you to fully, completely change and immerse the way that you do things, right? So, can a man be a king? Yes, but he's just kind of like maybe a man with a crown on his head, right? But
Okay.
the right woman will come in and help him to give that crown purpose. And she'll help him to build a true kingdom around what the crown represents. I think that women have relational and have different things that they're able to add to their man, and it's very important to understand that there's. I always say that the man, it might be the head, but the woman is the neck, and we help help the man know where to turn their head, right, and what to focus on and what to look at, and that's something that's really important. But having the right partner is something that's it's hugely important, because you can choose the right woman and she can help you build a kingdom, or you can choose the wrong woman and she'll burn that thing down to the ground, baby.
100% will. Yes, that's a fact. Very much true. Very much true. I think it says right here, Proverbs 31:10. It talks about speaking of a virtuous woman as a foundation of a man's success. Right? And stating that her husband is respected at the city gate where he takes his seat among the elders of the land. That's powerful, right? When you start thinking about that. And I think there's some studies shown as well. I'm just looking at some different things on marriage and psychology of positivity. It says that men are stable, supportive in their relationship and achieve higher levels of success in their career and emotional well-being when they have the right partner.
That's good.
So you wanted to talk biblically or scientifically? They both state that having the right partner or choosing the right partner, because yes, the man finds a good wife, obviously, but the wife also has to accept being chosen too. So they're
Ooh,
both
that's
choosing.
good. Yeah.
And by that choice, right, there's always consequences behind a choice, right? And you just hope that consequence only elevates, not the other way around, right?
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
well, in regards to this question, when we're talking about choosing now, I'm just piggyback on this question. What would you say for a man? What are things they need to look at? Because you were found, right? But also you had to accept being found. So you're also choosing at the same point, saying, okay, you see me, but do I want to see you too?
Right.
What would you say, for both perspectives, from a man perspective or a woman? So I can obviously give the man's perspective, but for a man, for looking for a wife, what would you give them some tips? And I can give a woman a tip too and could switch it.
Okay. So men looking for their spouse,
Yes.
tips for them.
Yes.
Okay.
Looking for their queen because they want to make sure they choose the right queen. What are some things that you would say is the right thing for a man to be looking for then,
Okay, so
from a woman's perspective?
I think definitely some of the things that a man should be looking for are, where I'm gonna always go with it first, a God-fearing woman, right? Somebody
Okay.
that's rooted in the same values and principles that you are rooted in.
Mm.
So being equally yoked, it starts with that. Like, are you in the position where you want to find somebody, you're looking for the person that's for you, then you definitely want to make sure that they have the same core values as
That's
you.
big.
And if you are somebody that is led by God, then you choosing somebody that is outside of that and hoping that they're going to transform into this person. Like, I think sometimes we look for potential instead of paying attention to what the person is actually able to offer you today.
Okay.
And so you have to be able to fall in love with what they have going on today.
Yeah.
And then you can see the potential of where they're going to be able to grow and where they're going to be able to go and all those things first. So I think number one, making sure that she's somebody that has the same core values. The next thing I would say is somebody that also has self-esteem and self-worth for themselves, because anybody that is looking for you to constantly give them validation for who they are, or need you to love them to feel worthy of love, then that's going to be a problematic situation, because their joy, their happiness, everything is going to sway on you all of the time, and that is a lot of pressure to put on someone else to
That's
have
heavy.
to carry your life, your happiness, and someone else's happiness.
Yeah.
And then that also can cause a lot of things with jealousy and other huge underlying issues that people end up dealing with in the future, based off of the fact that this person wasn't secure in themselves.
Wow.
First for themselves. So I think that those are two big ones for you to be looking for in a woman: somebody that has self-validation, that has self-love, that knows who they are, but also somebody that has the same core values as you. I think those are two huge ones. There's a few more that we could probably go into, but I want to give it over to you. So what do you think, for the same question for women, as they are in the process of being chosen and they're being found?
Yeah.
What is the criteria that they should have for the men that are looking to enter in their life?
I think it's very important for a woman, and they're going to accept, that being chosen, I guess you would say, it's scenario, does the man, is he a provider? Mm-hmm. Okay. Is he a protector? Can he provide stability? Can he provide security? Those are different things. How does he treat his mom?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Good one.
Does he keep his word?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Those are different, things that I would definitely look at.
Mm-hmm.
I would also see, how does he react when there's pressure?
Ooh, that's a good one.
So I'm not saying create a scenario of pressure, but you want to kind of see right up
Don't
front.
be crazy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna create a scenario.
Yeah.
And see what you gonna do.
Right.
So, yeah, that's one that both should be looking out for.
Yeah.
Somebody that's not playing games.
No, that part, right? No games. Very serious about dating to the
Yeah.
next level, because they're looking to obviously build an empire. But yeah, I would say, like, how do they react when there's pressure?
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't want to figure that out when you're married already. Like, you want to kind
Yeah.
of get an inkling of, like, how this person acts, how this person, like, are they a blow up person? Now all of a sudden you're like, you never did that when we were dating. Now all of a sudden that's what they do.
Yeah.
And like, oh, I don't like that. Now it's too late.
Yeah.
So you're really having a conversation, like, how do you react,
Mm-hmm.
on certain scenarios, and give them scenarios. If this happened, how would you handle this?
Yeah.
And kind of going through that, kind of really interviewing them. If they chose you, you also get to choose them, but interview them for the things that, again, that you are going to tolerate and what you're not going to tolerate, so you can be very clear.
I think that that's a good point. I think so many relationships, they think that they have a great relationship because they've never been through anything. Like, we never fight. We don't have any issues. Everything's perfect and blissful and amazing. Yeah. And that's actually not a great reason to say things are in a good place. Yeah. Because if you don't know how things will, like, how either of you respond when there's conflict or when there's issues, mm-hmm. then you don't want to be finding that out when you are in a process of, like, being engaged, married, all of those different things.
Kids,
so if somebody is perfect all the way through and you've never had any disagreements, any issues, they've never been annoyed by you, then they might be putting something on and you might be in a whole worst situation. You know, I know the ladies know we've all listened to those long series of women that are talking about, like, did I marry a monster? And, you know, this was a narcissist that I was with and everything was perfect until it wasn't. Yeah, because real people have real emotions. And so if somebody's gaslighting, if somebody is playing games in the scenario, then they're not going to show you any of that until it's too late. And so I think in a real relationship, there's going to be things, and also you have to gauge too, because if somebody is too hot-headed and they have issues all the time with everything, that's also not good. So you want to find that good sweet spot, gray area.
Well, I think it's all about, emotional intelligence of can they communicate to have a conversation, because you can have disagreements, right? So that's nothing wrong with that. You're supposed to do that, but can we come to the table and talk? Right. And this the same way that if boss and employee, you wouldn't blow up on your boss if they wanted to have a conversation.
Right.
So that learning how to do that early in the relationship is key, in having that conversation. And I'm looking at, some of the stats based on what we're talking about right here, and like choosing the right spouse, choosing the right queen, or again, the queen choosing the king too in this scenario. It even talks about Warren Buffett, which is highly obviously successful. He talks about he's crediting his wife for his success. He says the Buffett family is famously known because of marrying the right person. He gives all his credit to his wife. Interesting enough. And I mean, we read in this book right now, Think and Grow Rich, and our mentors consistently keep telling us to read it consistently too, right? And it talks about in the book, it says, notes that behind every great man is a woman who supports, influences, and elevates his vision. Interesting, right?
Yeah.
So
I think that's also super important for men, as you're looking for the woman that you're looking to choose, like, does she support you? Does she believe in you?
That's key.
Because if you're the type of guy that you're looking to be a 9-to-5 kind of guy, and, that's what you're wanting to do, then that's great. You have that support. Yeah. But if you're the kind of guy that you're looking to be an entrepreneur, and you want to build something for your family, that also is there. It takes a special woman to be able to support and believe and pour into that. You also got to be willing to dig in and do the hard work.
Definitely got to do the work.
But there's a lot of things that come with that, and everybody that wants great success isn't willing to do the sacrifice that great success requires for you to be able to achieve it. And that has to be on both parties. When you're in a downturn, is she going to still build you up like a king? Or, is she going to be looking at you like you're only as good as the last check you made? Oof. So that's really important to understand when you're not just looking at today where you are in dating and you guys have the same favorite color and the same favorite food and she's so pretty, but also looking at, can this person go the distance with where my future is going? That's important.
That's so big, because now you're choosing the human, not what they're doing.
Right.
In essence, it's like, I choose you and I know what your capacity it is, and I trust that, not just your job or the business or anything like that. So wherever you go, I go, or wherever you believe, I believe in, because I believe in you.
Right.
And when it's off that, then it's like, okay, what happened? Where did the foundation get cracked? Or was there even a foundation built before we got started? So that's big. I see, we see this all the time. We see couples together and say the husband says, you know what? My mind has expanded. I want to build a bigger kingdom. But this 9-to-5 situation is not going to allow me to do that. I want to now start a business, but there's no support from the home. But it gets and we can get really deep into it, but I don't know if we have enough time. But
well, just one more thing to say on that. If you're going to expect for her to support you and to be supportive emotionally, mentally, physically, maybe even financially during that time when you're deciding this is what we're going to do, and you want her to be able to go the distance with that kind of support and build you up and all of those things, you better come through. Like, you better do what you got to do to come through, because for women, having security is something that is extremely important for women, and so feeling like I am supporting you through something, but then you keep saying, oh, I wanted to do this, but now I'm actually going to do this. And now I'm going to actually, I'm doing this, but now it's getting hard. So now I'm actually going to change and do this. Like, you have to go the distance and really be willing to commit to finding success in that thing, if that's what you're going to have her support with you, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Makes complete sense. Yeah. Yeah. So let's go to the next question. What makes a woman an asset in a man's life instead of a liability?
That's a good one. So an asset, I mean, obviously there's a lot of different things. Strong women, they don't just support, but they help also hold accountable. They help create infrastructure, right? And so I think that a woman that's an asset and not a liability is somebody that is willing to create the infrastructure and to create the okay, you, this is your dream, you want to get to Z, all right, so I'm going to help you flesh out the ABCDE, like how do we get from A to Z, right? A woman that that is a good woman, she's also going to help hold you accountable to the dreams and the goals that you said that you had, right? Sure. It's not just, I'm here for the bags and the dinners, but also like, on those sleepless nights, hey, you said you were going to do this. What are we going to do? How do we do it? How can I help you? How can I support you? That kind of a thing is really important as well. But I think a woman that's a liability, they're only there to take. They're only there to take from it. So they only want the glory, the fame, the glitz and the glam. A woman that is really truly an asset, there's somebody who's going to get into the dirt with you. They're going to pick up a shovel and start digging with you. And they're going to be there to help you and really support you and rub your back at the end of the day and say, good job, babe, one more day. Good job, babe, one more day. And they're not willing to get dirty because they know that the gold is on the other side, right? So what are your thoughts on that one?
I mean, it comes down to, because a man needs, when he's clear on what he's building and the vision that he has that God's given him or he's created for himself, regardless, he needs emotional support. So in my opinion, when a woman becomes a liability, it's because they're not emotionally intelligent enough to support them in that regard. Their emotions are too high up and down, so it pulls away from them. And now they got to worry about their emotion and theirs at the same time. So they're juggling two different things when they need to be focused on getting their hands to work like what they told you going to do in the first place.
That's good.
And so emotional support is a very big one, in my opinion. I think it was right here. I'm looking at some research. It says that emotional supportive partners have lower stress levels, okay, and make better decisions under pressure.
Yeah.
So when there's, pressure alone, starting a business, just even saying that we're going to accomplish this as a family or even stating a vision as a family, that's a lot of pressure just alone because you had to come through because you said it.
Yes.
And one of the biggest things for men is keeping their word.
Yes.
Right? Your last name and your word are the things that you hold. So making sure that house, that home, that environment, that safekeeping is emotionally supportive, so there's not higher stress for things that are unnecessary to help them go and do what they said they're going to have to do. That's a big one, will be my opinion. I think Harvard Business even Review said that found that men in healthy relationships had stronger leadership skills, interesting enough, and were better at managing teams. So they just become better overall as well, in my opinion. So that's what I found.
That's really good. I think, with that being said, I know that, there's a lot of differences and there's a lot of things that men and women, the different roles that they all play.
Right.
That strength, emotional strength is something that women need. So men, they need to be the physical strength sometimes
Yeah.
and the mental strength.
Yep.
But for women, we need to be that emotional strength.
I agree.
And having somebody that's there for you like that is so important. I know Michelle Obama has even talked about that between her and Barack. Saying that sometimes she was there for the for the support, but she also had to help him be accountable and to help him to get where he was. And she said, I had to be that rock for him, but I also had to challenge him. A king has to be tested before he rules.
Like, he got all the way up to being a king, became a president.
Yeah.
So I guess it worked out very well in that. Yeah, because in my opinion, things and that's so big, because either you have a helpmate or the lady's becoming a help weight.
Okay.
But
that could be both sides. It could be a man too. Men could be
regardless
help
how you
weights
feel.
too.
You want to be inclusive, that's fine. But we're talking about why kings need a strong woman, right? But yeah, so I mean, either you're the helpmate in this conversation or you're a help weight based on, again, not being where we need to be.
Yeah,
that's right.
Good. So what do you think a high value woman actually looks like in today's world?
A high value woman. What a great question. Oof. A high value. I mean, it's a Proverbs 31 woman. I mean, if we want to break down that all the way down, and it's not a homemaker, and that's what a lot of people will take that verse and they'll interpret it like, this is a virtuous woman. All she does is cook and clean and she supports the man and that's it. But no, that's a lot more into it. Like, she's a strategist. She doesn't just have a house. She builds the home. She has the infrastructure. She's a leader in all capacities. She's also an investor. And so there's a lot of different things that they can bring value to. And that's why if you want to even play chess, I mean, it is what it is, a chessboard right here, right? But the strongest piece has always been the queen, and it protects the queen, in essence. I mean, protects the king because of the powers they have within them. I mean, you can have a baby and be a CEO. I can have a baby and be a CEO. Like, at the same time, But there's a reason why we do have our roles at the same point, and we have to understand that and be very clear in that. But when it comes to, a high value woman, oh man, she's not just multifaceted, she's multidimensional. So that'll be my opinion.
That's so good.
And if you choose the right one, you can definitely see the speed. Because again, I can do this by myself. I can have the vision and accomplish it. I don't need someone sitting next to me to do that. But if I have someone next to me, where two or more are gathered, and we both have the same, again, energy going the same direction, we're unstoppable now,
Yeah.
And so everything is this acceleration, and you'll be able to see it in everything in life when you choose the right one.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that'll be my opinion.
I think that high value women are strong women. I think that they're women that are, like you said, rooted in like that Proverbs 31 and all of those things. But I think today's society and social media and all these different things have really kind of skewed the way that we see a high value woman.
Yeah.
Today, we see a high valued woman as somebody that has so many likes on social media. Or they have the flashy wardrobe or the fancy car, regardless of how they got it, that kind of thing. And I think that God created women to be so multifaceted and to be able to multitask and all these different things, because we're supposed to be doing that. We're supposed to be able to touch so many different areas and have strength in every single one of them. A woman who prays, a woman who builds up others, a woman who builds up her man but also builds up other women, a woman who is sure of who she is because she knows where she came from and she knows that God is her foundation. That is a high value woman. A woman of principle, a woman of value, a woman that is concerned about her family and her children, and that is concerned about, the things that are uplifting.
Yeah.
That is a woman of value, and I think it's important for us to kind of like take that step back and remember that, and really give value to some of those women that are like maybe high value women, that they only have 100 people that follow them on social media, it doesn't mean that they are not high value, that they're not giving to the next generation, to their husband, to their businesses, to their family, to their community, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that sometimes we get fame and fortune misconnected to what really is the true value of a woman.
That's deep. That's deep. I love it. I love it. I mean, in closing thoughts when it comes to this, because I mean, this one was really good. It was only 3 questions, but I think we went into a lot of different scenarios and some tips and tricks that I believe that can help you build your kingdom, whoever you are right now, or we say rehab your kingdom, all right? If you need to, reconstruct it. So for closing thoughts in regards to this conversation, what's in your closing remarks and what you're thinking about?
I think that it's very important for us to take a step back. If you haven't already, if you've already started dating and you're looking for your person, take a step back and just evaluate, what am I looking for? Not just what does the person look like, and how do they make me feel, but also how are they going to match in my future? Is this the type of person that I could see raising my children? Is this the type of person that I could see building the type of future that I see for myself? Is this the type of person that really fits into that mold, or am I trying to fit them into a certain mold? And so if that's the case, then it's time to reevaluate, what you're looking for, have that criteria so when you find it, it. And that's something that I think would be good. What about you?
I just think that, again, if you're a king and you're choosing your queen, or even vice versa, a strong king will always choose a woman that, again, adds value and doesn't make him weak. Mm-hmm. So what I mean by that is she's going to make him wise. She's going to make him unstoppable. She's going to give him great counsel. And she's going to give him love, right? Support. And once he has that and he knows that someone has his back, vice versa as well, right? He'll take over the world. He'll build a world for you. That's kind of how it goes, right? So, again, kings, choose the right queen so that you can build your kingdom.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. All right, so as we're wrapping up today, we thank you guys for joining us. We want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on this topic today? Leave us some comments so we can continue the conversation if we've left anything out. Yeah. But as we are closing up, it's very important, guys, that you reach inside of yourself and find the things that are currently endangered in the world, and just understand that your survival is not only necessary, but it is imperative for us to be able to help continue to grow and shine light in the world the way that we're supposed to. We're so excited that you guys were joining us today. Continue to like, subscribe, join us, all the things, and we will see you next time.